Welcome back. The logo procedure is finished and everything turned out pretty well. Not much more to say other than if you're doing something like this particular pipe where this surface here is completely flat, be extra cautious when grinding the face with you're going to have a little stub of the tube and the wood sticking up, and to get that down to flat, one drag of a file across this edge here and there's no putting the material back. If this was a rounded stem, it wouldn't be nearly as difficult to get it perfectly flush without risking hurting anything else. But that's it, and I realized that we're doing the whole pipe here, not just the finish. Originally it was to correct the errors, and then what the hell, we'll just improve everything that seems to need it. And one of those things is the airway. This is quite a large bowl. The only real difference between this Italian Savinelli pipe and this English one, the bowls are the same size externally, but internally it's a different story. It's a little hard to see because of the perspective of cameras and stuff, but this probably has only, oh gosh, 60% of the capacity of this one here. So given that, and my personal experience with pipes is it's important, at least with some people, and how they smoke. I got to qualify all this, of course, but the airway needs to be proportionate with the tobacco chamber. And in this case, the airway in the shank and, well, the stem we aren't finished with yet, but is quite small, smaller than I think it should be for optimum performance. So I thought I'd walk you through a quick example of how I open airways. And first thing you need to see is the end of the drill bits have been modified by hand. You just do it against a spinning disc, and that's so well, you can't see down in there now, but you don't want a step at the end of that airway hole. You want it to smoothly blend with the bottom of the bowl, so you can do that. And as long as we're on the subject of drill bits, you can get them in different lengths. I've got a set for any pipe I might come across. This would be like a Canadian or something, and they come even longer than this. They go up to 14 inches if you really want to go there. But so be aware that the drill bits rather that you find in hardware stores are only a sampling of the most commonly used ones, that a lot of more rarely needed by the general public, but frequently needed by enthusiasts and hobbyists and so on, that they're available online, and not even Amazon. That tends to be mass marketing more and more. But machine supply places and tooling supply places have astonishing arrays of just drill bits. For example, you might find 20 or 30 different varieties in different hardnesses and angles and on like that. So let Google be your friend and track that stuff down. All right. So we're going to open up this airway a little bit, not anything massive. This doesn't, that doesn't stick in there, so it's definitely smaller than this one. This would be the next size up. Just for fun, we'll see what it is. It's not outrageously large, it's just somewhat larger than normal, so 0.160. And even though I'm a big fan of these little handle chucks, I don't recommend you use those for this task because twisting, it'll mess up your elbow if you do it constantly. A screwdriver type motion is really tough on your elbow joint. And even though if you're young, you say, well, that doesn't bother me. Later on, I've used tools my whole life and joints are starting to fall apart, but that's one of the ones that I wish somebody had told me about back in the day. So now I do a lower effort version that's works just as well in end result terms, but is practically no work at all in terms of biomechanically. And that's what it looks like, just vice grips clamping the end of that drill bit, and in it goes. And see if I can do this and not look at the camera type it. That's such a pain, but there we go. Get it started, and it just goes by itself with no twisting motion required. The only caveat is check frequently that where the progress of the bit, once it emerges from the shank into the bowl, you don't want to go drilling through the back side of the chamber there. In fact, it's coming through right now. This is really hard to do on a screen, but what the hell. Okay. And off it comes. And I'm not sure what's visible and what's not, but it leaves a really nice polished, there, focus for a second. There we go. A nice polished, even entry point in there. Now it's back out of focus. This thing is, yeah, there we go. Anyhow, that's the ticket there. And the stem, I'm going to have to move the camera and to the bench over here. I don't open stems at this station in my shop. So let me set it up, and I'll be back with you in just a second. Okay, I've done this once or twice before, but they're on video for you guys, but there's like 150 of those things out there now, and I couldn't find it if I wanted to in less than 10 minutes, so sentencing you guys to such a search seems kind of silly. So I'll do it again. And also there's plenty of new people that keep showing up on this thing. It started out with a handful, and now we're up to 800 and something. So rather than have you have to sift through all that, I'll just do them as the need arises. So you might remember that this particular stem originally was 115.115 in airway diameter, and we cut it open to 127.5. I think it's a machinist 30-bit, 128 we'll call it. Well, that's way too small for this size pipe, so we're going to enlarge the airway to about here. This white tape is the mark for it, to about the midpoint with a it's about 156, I think, 151, something like that. And then this is 125, and we'll take it to the base of the funnel. So again, I don't recommend doing this by hand for the same reason as the shank. In fact, this is more difficult because plastic and ebonite are tougher materials to drill through than wood. So the trick here is not a pair of vice grips. It's a super torquey, low-speed, vice-mounted electric drill. Now, there may be battery-powered models that'll do this. I don't know. But I do know for a fact they make them like this one. You plug them in a wall or a socket somewhere, and they basically go from 0 RPM, that's hardly turning, on up to as fast as you feel like. And you don't have to worry about the batteries crapping out or anything. So do not attempt what I'm about to do with a full speed on-off non-variable speed drill. You will you'll destroy what you're working on and potentially hurt yourself in the process. So this is firmly mounted in a vise, and so much so that you can lean, you get your body weight balanced and you lean forward, and you can control this with the upside down pistol grip with no difficulty. And then you just thread this guy on the end. Make sure she's going straight. Yep, we're going straight now. Now, because this is plastic, you want to be careful you don't go too fast and get it hot. Clear the chip as frequently as necessary. And there we go for that diameter. Switch it out for one that's a little bit longer because we're going in deeper. And again, we marked this with tape so that keep track of that and you won't destroy a stem by going too far. And there you have it. No muss, no fuss, no drama, no physical labor, no jacked elbow. And you can do this, of course, and just pick different drill bits and make them the size you want for the pipe you've got. I'll probably put a very slight little cone flush thing or a little countersink on the end of that, but you don't need to watch it be done. So I'll finish getting the stem in shape here. The button is still fairly rough, but I'll get her to the point that we'll be ready to stain and finish by the next time I turn the camera on. Alrighty. Until then.